Good morning from the National Farmers Union Conference in Birmingham, where resilience is the theme. And the Environment Secretary, Emma Reynolds, came with a positive message to sell.
We want farm businesses that are productive, profitable and resilient. We want to see more British food on more tables, here at home and around the world. And we want a countryside that is thriving for wildlife, for communities, and for the families who have worked this land for generations. This is an ambition we share. Let's build farming's resilience together. Thank you.
The Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, Emma Reynolds, also came with some, but not all, of the long-awaited details for the Sustainable Farming Incentive reboot. Where Sarah Swadling was listening, there was some more clarity there, wasn't there?
Yeah, a little bit more. The DEFRA Secretary of State, Emma Reynolds, divulged some of the details about the next phase of the Sustainable Farming Incentive, the SFI, in England. Now, this is the scheme which was intended to partially replace payments from the EU Common Agricultural Policy, but it's been a stop-start affair, cut off in March last year when the money ran out, apart from a brief resumption for some applicants in the summer. We knew that the Sustainable Farming Incentive would reopen in June, because the Secretary of State told us at the Oxford Farming Conference that it would. And we also knew that small farms would get first dibs at applying. What we've had confirmed here is how small is small. So it's 7.5 acres to 123 acres, roughly speaking. Larger farms, which haven't previously been signed up to the overarching Environmental Land Management Scheme, which the SFI is part of, will also be allowed to apply in June. But everyone else has to wait until September if they want to apply. One of the key details that was announced here at the NFU conference was that the amount a single farming business can claim is going to be capped at £100,000 per year for each agreement. Now, the government says that 97% of farms with existing SFI agreements are already under this threshold.
And Emma Reynolds also announced the return of a series of grant schemes for technology too.
Yeah, she mentioned £70 million for the Farming Innovation Programme. The previous round of that funded 15 projects across England to help farms cut emissions, strengthen resilience and to boost productivity. So things like methane-cutting cattle feed and heatwave-proof greenhouses. There's also £50 million for the Farming Equipment and Technology Fund, which is more focused on kit available off the shelf right now for improved animal health and welfare and for things like managing slurry.
Thanks very much, Sarah. Well, hundreds of farmers and policymakers are here at the NFU conference to discuss the future of farming and how it can cope with volatility from several directions, whether that's climatic or geopolitical. The National Farmers Union President, Tom Bradshaw, told the conference that a failure to build farming resilience would put food security and national security at risk. But first, I asked him for his reaction to those details about the Sustainable Farming Incentive.
We welcome an increased level of clarity. The detail that we still need is how big will the budget be for these two windows that they're going to have later this year? Because it's really that budget which is going to dictate the availability of that scheme. They've brought in the cap to make the money go as far as possible. And it is at a level which, there was talk about it being at a lower level. Any business can deliver for the environment at scale. And I think that's the thing we have to recognise. This is public money for public goods, and the scale of your farm doesn't dictate how many public goods you can supply.
And do farmers need actual detail of what they can apply for, the actions, months before they apply?
Well, so many of the options that farmers will be signing up for are rotational options on the farm. So it has to work with the farm rotation. So if after harvest is a great time to start a new agreement once you've cleared the fields and you know what options you're going to have. So that the detail really, really matters.
This whole conference is about resilience and about coping with changes, things that are in your control and things that are out of your control. And that means you have to get the farmers' message to policymakers. Is it going your way? Is there enough commitment from this government to support farmers?
There are some positive green shoots, which the planning consultation is something for just about every farm that's trying to invest has found difficulty with getting planning permission, whether it be for a reservoir or a poultry shed. We know there's over £1 billion of investment that's locked up by the planning system in the poultry industry alone. So the planning consultation is a welcome start. But we need to see the government have a clear ambition for domestic food production. We've taken it for granted for too long. And at the moment, we've got declining production in some of our staples, such as wheat, red meat, poultry meat, and vegetables, all declining. Now, that's not a resilient food system for this country. When you look at the geopolitics around the world, it's absolutely essential that the government prioritise domestic food production, set a clear ambition sector by sector, so that we can hold ourselves accountable. And we've got something to try and match the legislated environmental targets, which at the moment seem to trump everything.
The thing is, farming pollutes. Are farmers actually doing enough themselves to mitigate the impact that they have on the environment?
I mean, farmers are doing a huge amount to mitigate the impact on the environment, but sometimes the investment that they want to make will actually mitigate environmental risk. A new slurry store will reduce the risk of pollution, but all too often they can't get planning permission for it. A new poultry shed will have a lower risk than the outdated poultry shed it's replacing, but they can't get permission for the new poultry shed. But we also have to think about what is the impact on other countries around the world when we simply produce less here. We've increased our poultry standards, reduced our stocking density, given the birds more space. We've reduced our poultry production, our poultry meat production here in this country. All we're doing is drawing in more imports from Poland, Ukraine, Brazil, and Thailand. We have no control over what's happening in those countries. So we cannot have this out of sight, out of mind attitude. Farmers need to do more, but we also need to get a fair return from the market so that we can afford to invest and make sure that we are mitigating our risk of pollution.
But the problem is, isn't it, is asking the policymakers to put food resilience as part of national resilience, when in fact they have to deal with the financial constraints of making food affordable for everyone.
Well, I think that the government in their manifesto recognised that food security is a critical part of national security. What we haven't seen is the policy delivered as part of that. The Food and Farming Partnership Board, if it is sort of a very commercially focused, very production focused, that could be a great place for having those conversations about what policies it is that we need to develop for the future. There's lots of opportunity to streamline things, to give farmers the confidence to invest for the future. But at the moment, we've got an industry bereft of confidence that isn't profitable enough to make the investments that are needed. So we either prioritise this and accept that there may have to be some small inflation, but if we don't have that short-term inflation, we could risk hyperinflation in the long term if we're not producing that food here. And that's the decision the government have got to think about.
Well, I've come out into the melee of farmers here who are avidly discussing what they've been hearing at the conference today, and I thought I'd separate out a few of them to talk to and ask them what they felt about confidence and resilience.
I'm Angela Kirkwood and I farm near Hull in East Yorkshire. I'm a pig farmer. Pigs and arable, so we're fully integrated. So we grow all of the crops to mill into pig feed to grow our pigs. I think it's really important that we're starting to talk about food resilience in the UK. And I think all of our businesses, we look at how we can be more resilient, whether that's to extreme weather, whether it's to other threats such as animal rights activism, especially in the pig industry at the moment, and look into the future of how do we look at better genetics in order to improve our carbon footprint by being more productive. So we've been looking at reducing antibiotic use, improving productivity of our pigs, getting the best genetics that there are in the country to try and be the best that we possibly can be.
How confident do you feel then about the future of your profitability as well?
I think there's real concerns in the supply chain, especially in the pig supply chain at the moment. We have pig prices plummeting. And this is really knocking confidence for investment. I mean, we're seeing huge consolidation of ownership in the pig industry. The industry is getting smaller, and it's both consolidation of the processing sector, but also consolidation of the farmers.
Fewer but larger farms and fewer but larger processing plants.
Yes.
What does it mean for you on the farm?
We've just got to be open to change, and I think all farmers have to be open to change because we are being pushed down an avenue of change, even if it's one that not everybody really wants.
My name's Richard Bramley. I'm a farmer from just south of York and I grow a variety of crops. There's certain things I can't control, and that's where I need financial resilience. So I can't control the weather and the climate and things like flooding. So I need to make sure that I'm able to regroup and grow something for the following year. So that's financial strength there. I think a lot of the other resilience involves the other things that I do on the farm, like managing the environment and work to help improve water quality and improve soil health and such the like. And so that comes to some stable schemes and the funding that's going to need. And that can be not just government funding, but I think private money as well. So I think there's some real scope to better utilise private funds alongside government funding.
Have you had any opportunity to take private funding?
It's been talked about for a while, and for the first time we're starting to see a little bit of income coming from that.
What exactly have you been doing there?
So it's support for more sustainable production. We're getting it for our wheat crop, or some of our wheat crop. We also get support for different techniques in growing potatoes as well. So
and where's the money actually from?
It comes from the supply chain. So that's something that's really good, and it's something we need to see more of, because our food security is absolutely essential. It will affect everybody if we get it wrong, and it's running on a knife edge at the moment. Our food system's pretty broken.
I'm James Scott. I'm a dairy farmer in Congleton. I milk just over 100 cows. I have a few beef calves and a few sheep as well. So I'm actually relatively new to dairy, so I've only been dairy farming 3 years. I do want to progress, I do want to produce more milk, but there are barriers to that. The dairy industry is overproducing at the moment, but I'm on a contract where I get paid based off my butter, fat and protein, so it's a different angle rather than volume. I'm focusing on constituents. So
the quality of the milk and what's in it, and you get paid more for what you're providing there.
Yeah, the high proteins and butter fats, and it's about making sure that the consumers understand where their foods come from and encouraging people to eat dairy products like cheese, butter and yoghurt. As
a younger farmer, are you confident about the future then?
I'm really confident. It's such an interesting industry to be in. I guess there'd be more confidence, if there was policies outlined which were more long-term rather than changing every 2 years with different governments and different policy changes. But I'm looking forward to seeing how we can improve and how the industry changes.
What about your other young farmers that you talk to? How are they feeling about things?
I think they're all excited. I think there's lots of opportunities out there for young people to get into farming. There's loads of jobs out there, and I guess it's just about taking these in your stride and getting involved as much as you can where you can. So
it's interesting, isn't it? We hear so much about young people not being able to find jobs.
Yeah.
There are jobs in farming.
Yeah, not necessarily the most glamorous jobs, but there's milking jobs, and it might be clearing up muck, but nevertheless you're on the farm and you've got to start somewhere. And I still do those sorts of jobs every day, and sometimes it isn't glamorous. It's chucking it down with rain and you're scraping the cow muck up. But you've got to start somewhere, and eventually you'll see the rewards for that.
Well, that's all from us today here at the National Farmers Union Conference in Birmingham. I'm Anna Hill, the producer was Sarah Swadling. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.